Jeff Orr has recently written a book, Succeed in the New Normal, about how our lives have changed and how business professionals and job seekers, actually anyone, can capitalize on the changes and make the best of them. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning.
We were talking earlier, normal. What is normal? What's the old normal? And now you're talking about a new normal.
Well, a lot of times the normal is what we're used to. We know how to be successful in it, we are comfortable with it, we're familiar with it, and usually what happens is circumstances outside of our control put us in a new normal. We're not even aware that we are there yet, but we get stuck and we wonder, why can't I move forward? Why can't I be successful? And all these things come to play, and it's not until we realize that what we were doing is gone. And we need to put closure to it, step over this gap called time, which keeps spreading out, to fully engage the new normal, to be able to succeed and move forward in it.
Is that a lot like the cliche, we stay with what we're familiar with, that's why we don't like the unknown, to step out into it?
Most people really don't care for change because of that. Change can be scary, it can be fearful, so we like to retreat back into what we know best.
So all the latest in technology, which Tanya and I talk about on this program constantly, or at least a lot, because that wasn't our normal. And so we need to adjust to the new normal electronically. Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat. Oh, please tell me no.
No, this goes a little bit deeper. It gets into mindset. It gets into really what's holding you back in life. In business, a lot of times it's a business model. A good example of that that I quote in the book is the video industry. In the mid-'70s, video rentals was a great thing. You couldn't afford to buy a movie, so you would rent it. Blockbusters born.
And sometimes even the machine.
Exactly. So it was a great idea. Well, along comes Netflix, says, hey, people don't like to get up and go to the store. We'll deliver it to them. Good idea. New business model. Well, pretty soon it's like, well, because of internet streaming and broadband and the technology, hey, now you don't even have to get off your can, and you can just
well, on your phone. Now you can carry it around on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what does that leave? Where does that leave Blockbuster? Well, they were still holding to an older business model, and it got them in trouble. Now, granted, they're starting to turn some things around, but time will tell as to how they will make that shift.
Well, I understand that for the younger generation because they grasp it, they do it. But again, people in our generation, how do we adjust to that and get and move on?
It all depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish and what you need to move forward. If it's not life-altering, old school tends to be okay.
So we can stay in that and be normal.
I know a lot of people enjoy writing letters. I don't even know if anybody actually handwrites anything anymore. I know my daughter isn't even being taught handwriting in school.
I've heard that cursive is not even being, other than writing their name, it's not even being taught.
I know. I think this is going to be the wave of the future.
No, see, now that's where I have my heels dug in. That's where I put my heels dug in. There's nothing wrong with the way of the future. There's nothing wrong with that. But why erase a foundation?
But again, that is something that isn't really going to hold you back in moving forward in life. Another example has been the economy. For a lot of people, we're waiting. I'll just wait out the economy, and then things will get back to normal, and I can do things like I used to do it. Well, what if this is the new normal? What if our economy now, the slow growth, the shrinking GDP, what if that is the new normal for the next 10 or 20 years? I hope it isn't, but what if it is?
So
odds are that it will be, though. It says indicators look like it will be. Go ahead.
So what do you do then?
But Tanya just made a good point too. In the post office is closing thousands and thousands of offices across the nation.
Well, the post office is their own fault. It is their own fault. You walk in there, there's 5 windows, 3 people are walking around doing something else. You have a line as long as Pittsburgh.
I won't get into the business trappings of the post office and why that's failing, but technology has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
You also, In-Demand Leadership is also one of your books.
Yes, that's my company.
What do we do with Washington, D.C.? Tell me how we change Washington, D.C. and we start to have a little bit of leadership there.
The big challenge in leadership right now is leaders that will actually step up and do what is right for the country and not what's right for themselves. And I'm not sure any of them are really willing to do that because they'll get kicked out of office.
No, it's all vote getting. No, we won't see that happen.
It's a very difficult thing with the leadership at that level. But there are still some good people there. There are still some good leaders. It's just a matter of people getting behind that.
People are fearful of speaking their mind.
But it is interesting, leadership, because how do you define leadership? Leadership is, if you've got it, people follow you. But what is it?
John Maxwell defines leadership as influence. I love that definition. I look at it this way, as a visual, as if I'm climbing a hill. Sometimes in leadership, I'm pulling some people with me. Many times I'm behind them, pushing them forward. And good leadership really promotes the well-being and the future of somebody else, helps them to achieve, helps them to accomplish.
So it's not I, me, mine.
No, not at all.
It's about you.
Well, you know, leadership, as far as whether it's I, me, mine, or whether it's not, leadership talking about government, talking about families, parenting, businesses, I don't care what it is, in my opinion, by example, is one of the finest ways to get your message across.
Absolutely.
Object lessons by example, because no one's going to follow you and emulate you if you're not, I mean, what are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah, you can have that charisma, you can have the flash, but if there's no substance behind it, people will see that, they'll start to fall away because there's nothing there to grasp onto. Some of the greatest leaders I've seen have had the greatest visions. In politicians.
Should we become more simplistic? And the reason I say that today's world is so complex, Jeff. How do we make it simplistic? Because we don't understand a lot, and we don't really get a lot of the issues that are going on I mean, deeply. So what can people who are in Washington and even our state governments, local governments, can we become more simple? Is that a better way of leadership?
If you run government like you run your household budget, we'd all be better off. Basically, it's a simple concept. Don't spend more than you make.
Simplistic.
We are way over budget, federally, state, and we're paying for it. We're having difficulty with it.
You know what, you're sitting there saying that. We had Congressman Gosar on the telephone. We had Tom Palkin. We talk to them periodically. We have the governor sitting in the chair right there where you're sitting. And we all say this. We all know it.
But we're not willing to do it.
Where's the missing link, as they call it?
Nobody wants to give up their entitlements. Nobody wants to give up the help that they're getting. But in reality, that's the new normal we're facing. We're facing shortfalls in our budgets. Yeah. There's just no more money left. So what do you do? Well, we just keep spending.
But also the government keeps taking. The only reason we're making in this world is because we have workers that are achieving and helping others to work. Right. They want to take more money and they want to spend more money. So where does that leave us in the long run, Jeff?
Broke.
Yeah, pretty much. That's where we're heading, and that's obviously the whole conversation about the debt ceiling and all of that. But it really, if you talk to any business leader, they'll tell you the same thing. Look, you just can't spend more money than you make, or you go out of business, and that is where we're heading as a country. So we need to collectively come together, draw on the wisdom of what we know, what works. And really demand it from our leaders who are in charge of making laws, that this needs to happen.
Yeah. Peruse this book a bit. Great book. I really recommend this. There were a couple paragraphs in there and chapters that I stopped on. One, I picked up, attitude and beliefs really affect the outcome.
Yes.
Okay. If I had to put it in a sentence.
Yes. So maybe we'll have to have Jeff back.
Yes. Jeff is welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.